books on corporate culture are not rare in the pantheon of business books, but books on corporate culture that involve a Haitian revolutionary, a prison gang leader, and an infamous Mongol general, that's unique. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for digging that far back in history, profiling some unflattering portraits and using that to inform modern business lessons.
When you think about culture, it's really complex. It's a complex topic. And so I'll just give you, it kind of started all from my own experience as CEO, where I was like, okay, how do I be a good CEO? So I asked all the old heads, like the OG CEOs, how do you do this? What should you focus on? And they're like, Ben, pay attention to culture. And I'm like, okay, got it. What's that? How do I do that? And stuff got very vague. And I always wondered, well, why was it so vague? How do you do it? And it turns out that, all these little things that your employees ask themselves, what do I should I stay till 5 or till 8? Should I return that phone call today or tomorrow? Should I stay at the Red Roof Inn or at the Four Seasons? All that is dictated not by your mission statement or your OKRs or all that. It's by your culture.
Now, often a company is going to have a website and there are going to be principles and they're on the wall. Is that culture? Is that
that's what you believe. That's not what you do. And this is why what you do is who you are. And this is what's so key about that. But so then you get into it further and you go, well, culture's not every culture works for every company. Every company is trying to do what it's trying to do, and it needs a culture that supports that. So Apple doesn't need the Amazon culture, the frugality, because they're high design.
They fly coach class everywhere. Apple does not. They're probably flying first class.
Well, and their campus is they've got $5,000 doorknobs and stuff on the thing, because everything's got to be about perfect design, whereas Amazon is about low cost leader, so different cultures. And so that kind of got me into, in order to write this book, I really have to understand who solved the very hard cultural problems, and also make those examples from really different things, so you open your mind up. You're not just I'm in Silicon Valley, I'm getting these people with STEM degrees and so forth. You have to think about your people from first principles. What do they walk in with?
And building a good corporate culture, you have to be harsh sometimes. So you tell the story of Reed Hastings transforming Netflix from a DVD to a digital company, and he stops inviting the DVD executives to meetings.
Yeah.
To
the executive staff, the most coveted meeting in the whole company.
I'm sure they're not happy about that. So to what extent do CEOs need to, to be tough and sometimes even cruel to create a good corporate culture?
Well, look, sometimes it's necessary, and you have to be careful, right? Because is the cruelness out of intent for to be sadistic, or is it to demonstrate the priority or set the tone? Here, I find people $10 a minute for being late for a meeting. It's well, that person, she had to go to the bathroom. Why are you fining her $80? People got to go, you got to go. But it's the cultural point is we really value the time that entrepreneurs have to spend building their companies, and so we plan to do everything from finish our phone calls to go to the bathroom to whatever, and we are on time to that meeting. And that's more important than how unfair that particular fine was for that person.
As I was reading the book, I kept wondering, are great cultural creators of corporate culture, are they educated, or is it instinctive? For example, did Bezos and did Reed Hastings at Netflix study this, or did they just have a sort of implicit understanding of how to build these cultures?
Yeah, that one of the reasons I wrote the book is I don't know what you would study. It's tricky. I ended up studying Toussaint Louverture, right? So.
And we have to study the Haitian slave leader who you write about.
How do you turn a slave army, guys who didn't even wear clothes, into an army that could defeat Napoleon? How do you do that? That was just an incredible question. And of course, Toussaint was obsessed with culture. Every aspect of his thought process always went through this cultural lens. As a leader, you can pick up on things like that and understand these examples. But I think, a lot of it is kind of naturally understanding how people are going to behave. If you do this, then they're going to act like that.
But Toussaint is interesting because he's not perfect, right? He becomes a slave leader himself.
Yeah.
He asks his soldiers to be monogamous, and he is not. And the title of the book is who you are is what you do. And so there's a little bit of a contradiction there that sometimes good cultural leaders are not perfect themselves.
Oh, 100%. And even like with Jeff Bezos, right? Like, here's a guy who is a great cultural leader, and then all of a sudden, like, he's in the tabloids, and it's crazy. And you're like, what happened, Jeff? But like that, they were humans. I don't think there's anybody that's 100% end-to-end, and that's what the difference between people who get, massively criticized for their cultural flaws and people who get, super praised is a lot thinner than you might think on a lot of these things. But, it's what you do organizationally, right? Like, what does every person do? How do they all behave? And, is that who you want to be, or is that far from what you want to be? And I think that, and the other thing is it changes and evolves, like over time. Like, you can have a good culture and lose it.